Welcome back, Nerglings. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so let's see if I can remember what to do. As you can see, today we are taking a look at the Beastmen, but before we start, be sure to comment, like and subscribe so you don't miss an update. The Beastmen, the dark children of chaos, mutated beyond belief due to the corrupting influence of the dark gods. They are a beautifully sadistic blend of man and beast, and are certainly the most numerous of the worshippers of chaos. This series, like most, will concentrate on my thoughts about collecting this plethora of models, how they thematically fit together, and how different styles can complement each other when given strong common elements. With that in mind, let's have a look at the miniatures. Throughout the army, I have tried to double down on the chaotic nature of the Beastmen. Every unit is populated by a mad mix of different models, as always, from different manufacturers. To give you an idea of the breadth of the collection, there are models from Alternative Armies, Essex Miniatures, Eureka Miniatures, Foundry, Grenadier, Midland Miniatures, Merton, Nightmare Miniatures, Old School Miniatures, Raulpartha, Reaper, and of course classic 90s and 2000s Citadel. You may be interested to hear how I go about organising models into cohesive units from such diverse backgrounds. Loosely, the trick here is that I try as best as possible to have models equipped and armed in similar ways in the same unit. Whilst this isn't that relevant in Beastmen armies, as they would just band together in loose groups with whatever weapons they had to hand, it does look better on the tabletop. Also, sizes aren't too much of an issue, as again Beastmen fight in a flurry of bodies and blades, more than happy to fight between Ungor and Minotaurs, such is their bloodlust. Now you may see some familiar models in this army, as Games Workshop generously decided to re-release Gorthor's Army Box once again in a made-to-order set a couple of years ago. Fortunately, they cast them all in metal and not plastic or resin, so these fab models are how they were intended to be, heavy and indestructible. I will be using models from several armies that are already somewhat complete in this collection. For instance, the Pestigor and Plague Monks with associated characters from my Nergal army, the Khorngor from my Khorne army, and the Mutant Slaves from my Chaos Dwarf army will all feature in this mighty horde. In the case of the Pestigor, Plague Monks and Khorngor, they will be lifted as is. However, the two Mutant Slave units will have a leadership change, swapping the Chaos Dwarf leader for a Beastman Shaman in each. Finally, a unit I've yet to finish off, but will be on loan from my Tzeentch army, will be a small unit of Tzaangors. So what is the army made up of? The bulk of the troops are a mix of Beastmen, Lizardmen and Skaven. I figured if I was going to make a Beastmen army, I should include all the iterations of man and beast that are available. In addition, bearing in mind we are talking about chaos, there are a smattering of demons in the mix too, to make the units pop a little more. After all, what is a chaos army without some demons? As a supporting unit, I have 20 odd little chaps, which are a mixture of mutated children, small demons and familiars led by a witch, and supported by a strange Skeksis matron creature. With the main body of troops covered off, I'll be using a unit of 10 centaurs to maraud around the battlefield at speed, several units of minotaurs to provide some serious muscle, some trolls to slow things down if necessary with some stupidity, skirmishing Ungor to spring traps, chaos hounds to chase down fleeing foes, and a Jabberwocky to really cause some commotion. I will also have a war shrine carried by 2 able-bodied beastmen and a flock of harpies to harass the enemy's flanks, and war machines. So, quite a versatile bunch indeed. The army will be led by Gorthor on his chariot, ably supported in his efforts to conquer the old world by a vermin lord as a greater demon of beasts, something of my own design. Carrack Clovenhoof, a powerful Centaur lord, a hulking Minotaur lord battle standard, the classic Zygor, and 3 Skaven characters in the form of Lord Skrulk, some chap with a flail, and a fella riding a giant rat. In addition, I'll be making great use of the Pantheon of Chaos range, which has a bewildering array of Beastmen models from numerous releases throughout the years, as they are certainly a more heroic scale than most of the models in the army. They will fill positions of particular relevance and stature, such as heroes and shaman. Of note, every miniature in this army is metal, save for the Jabberwocky, which is a filthy piece of fine cast junk. The model itself is, however, pretty darn nice, and he fits in with the aesthetic of the army very well. As usual, due to many of my old style miniatures residing on pre-slaughter integral bases, I'm using my favourite 25mm hollow-lipped squares from EM4 miniatures, which can house the ugly lumps that these models stand on. Also, I'll be using laser-cut MDF for many of the large creature bases. At 3mm thick, and whatever size you wish them to be cut to, they're incredibly versatile, not to mention far cheaper than appropriately sized plastic alternatives. Naturally, I'll make great use of Milliput, my sculpting material of choice. I use it for everything from filling the slots on bases to sculpting new pieces of armour, bags, repairing the dreaded lead rot if I deem it necessary, and even reinforcing weapons if required. Finally, I'll be using Army Painter paints, cheap acrylics from my local art store, quick shade varnish, and homemade basing material, with green flock and chunks of cork purchased from eBay on the cheap. Of course, I will expand on the use of all of the above and more in the following series, so stay tuned to see what I can achieve with this great army. That's just about all I have for you this time. Be sure to like, share and subscribe, and thanks very much for watching. Peace.